Hey guys, my name is Colton Steiner. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of the Colton Steiner Show. Now, I'm just going to be recording in my room for now, but someday down the line, whether it be in a year, a couple years, or maybe in a month or so, I'd like to have a better studio, but for now, this is going to have to do. I was thinking of pushing this show to a later date due to the fact that I'm getting over a cold right now, but as you can tell, I'm feeling a lot better. A little nasally, a little stuffed up, but I want to get this episode out for you guys and to the quality that I think it can produce for you guys. Now, what are we talking about today? Well, first off, we're going to be talking about the whole Urban Meyer debacle. And then after we talk about that, I'm going to be discussing the return of Josh Gordon to the Browns. And then we're going to take a little, go away from the topics and dive into the video of the week. And then after that, we will go into why I thought Han Solo, a Solo, a Star Wars story, was better than The Last Jedi. Then we're going to close off the show by me discussing my thoughts on the Logan Paul KSI fight and who I think will win. So, without further ado, let's just dive right on into it. So, if you have not heard, Ohio State has suspended their head football coach, Urban Meyer, for 3 games following a whole mishandling of an assistant coach. Now, let's all agree that the assistant coach here, Zach Smith, had some serious problems. Now, when I first heard the news, I was pretty livid, and I'll explain why. Let's start off right here. Was there charges? No domestic violence charges were handed out by police. In Ohio, it is a law. Whether or not the victim wants to pursue charges, the police, if there is enough evidence, they can pursue charges without the consent of the victim. But in this case, the police didn't think there was enough evidence to charge Zach Smith with domestic violence. And that is a big thing here, because before the 23-page investigation came out, we thought, okay, Urban Meyer knew about this, told the higher-ups, but still kept him on staff. Now, after I read the whole 23-page report, and for me, I thought, okay, 1, he's under investigation for domestic violence. 2, if he is charged, then we are firing him. That is what both Gene Smith and Urban Meyer agreed upon. Now, if we dive into what the 23-page report says, there was stuff that Urban Meyer allegedly didn't know, like the whole sending sex toys and taking nude pictures of himself in the White House. He didn't know about that, and I don't know if he knew about that or not, but in the report it says that he was unaware of that happening. Now, there was an event in, I believe, 2013, and during this time I'm going to be showing some of the 23-page report. I just kind of blips and highlights of it, and you can pause the video, read it, and have your opinions of it. But I believe it was in 2013, Zach Smith and his Ohio State assistant coach and a couple high school coaches were at a strip club where Zach Smith spent $600 or so of his own money. Now, that isn't illegal, but it is not a good look for Ohio State. And Urban Meyer told them, if you do this again, you're going to be fired. And when I think about this whole situation with Zach Smith, it makes you wonder, did his relationship with Zach Smith's grandfather, I believe, his grandfather, did that affect his job? And I believe it did. Now, this was after I read the 23-page report. After I read the report, my view on the suspension changed, because there was a lot of times he gave him second, third, and fourth chances. And necessarily, as an employer, you can give your employee a number of chances, but at this level, you shouldn't do it that many times. And I believe it was Earl Bruce. He had a good relationship with he was his mentor. He learned a lot from him, so he said, okay, I'll give this guy another chance. And then all of this stuff comes about, and a lot of stuff he didn't know about in the criminal trespassing. He didn't know about that until he had learned that from the media. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. that whether Urban Meyer knew about it or not. And you can't really fire anyone if they aren't charged with anything, because they can go through like unlawful termination. And there is something with said, okay, we can't really fire this guy if he isn't charged with domestic violence. We don't know the entire story. And I believe that's where the police kind of were stuck at, and we don't know the entire story either. It's a he said, she said kind of thing. Aside from the domestic violence incident, all those other incidents where he kind of mishandled the coaching aspect of, okay, we're going to keep this guy on, continue to have him teach our students and our athletes how to live life, even though he isn't really doing it the proper way. But nonetheless, I think he did mishandle the hiring and having him on the coaching staff aspect of it for that long of time, where a suspension is probably worthy. Now, whether it's 3 games or 1 to 3 games, I don't know really, because 1 game doesn't seem enough. 3 games seems too much. 2 games, you're doing it, you're bringing him back right for a big game against TCU. I can understand how people would react to that. But the way they're doing it, he suspended the first 3 games, but no, he can't be at practices for the first game, but through games 2 through 3, he can be at practices, but not the actual game. So I think if you read the 23-page report, go for it. I'll link to it down below. But let me know what your thoughts on this. This is a very controversial issue. A lot of people have different responses. I'd love to hear your guys' response. And let's move on to why Josh Gordon's return for the Browns is huge. So if you have not heard, Josh Gordon has returned to the Browns after leaving the team for personal reasons. And the organization of the Browns understood this. They're like, take time if you need to get better personally, mentally, physically, all that. Just let us know when you come back. But this doesn't mean you're going to have a starting spot. And I really like that, because you got to work your way. I mean, he was a great player for us a couple years ago when he had Brandon Whedon as his quarterback. Now we have Tyrod Taylor. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and how the Browns can incorporate him into the offense. Because obviously he's going to make the 53 player roster, but whether or not he is a starter, we don't know. We're going to have to see how he starts playing from the first week, second week, third week, and it's really going to be interesting. So that's going to be a major thing for the Browns to see how he is mentally, because he's had a couple problems in the past with that, especially with drug addiction. Then he jumped into rehab, and then he's had personal issues, not related to drugs, but with girlfriends and stuff. I don't know. It's very interesting to see how the Browns organization handles that, and how Josh Gordon handles that and his performance on the field. So I'm excited to see that. We have a lot of talent, and who knows, that might lead to Dez Bryant coming to the Browns and wanting to team up with Josh Gordon and Jarvis Landry and Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield. It's going to be a fun season. So I'm looking forward to when I do a whole season preview about the Browns. I have a lot of things to say about that. But before we move on with the show, let's jump into our video of the day, and here it is.
Anybody here who's gone to a private school knows sleeping in class is not really an option. Teacher catch you sleeping, they'll write you up and show up.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed that little sneak of the video of the day, and if you have any suggestions for me, just send them my way. I'll look them over and see if they're worthy of it. But yeah, I hope to have this every time, so it gives a little break and gives a little shout out to someone who makes a great video, because we all have to help each other out here on YouTube. So a full link for that video will be in this description down below. And let's move on to why The Last Jedi was worse than Solo: A Star Wars Story. Let's dive into why I thought Solo: A Star Wars Story was better than The Last Jedi. Now, a couple months back when I did my The Last Jedi review, I was actually very generous of the movie. And I think when I look at it, I think the hype around the movie and the time I made it was very like, ooh, this another Star Wars movie. I love seeing Star Wars. But hold on. Now, usually you have like, oh, you should do like a twist and plot. But a lot of this stuff, I mean, a lot of stuff that they did in the movie didn't make sense. Why aren't you telling Poe the plan, even like, because he's a commander, you know he's a rebellious fighter and he wants to do something on his own. You're leaving him in the dust. That's not going to end well. And then Finn goes off and then he wants to dive in. Rose, I don't know. The whole thing just didn't make sense. There was a lot much more they could have done with that, and I had a lot more ideas, and I have more ideas for episode 9, and I think I talked about that in my review. But nonetheless, I thought it could have been done. They could have done a much better job with it. Now, when you move to Solo, a Star Wars story, there's a lot more to talk about. You have the backstory of Han Solo. How did he become a smuggler? How did he meet Chewie? The one thing I have problems with is like the dice. It wasn't a big thing in the main trilogy, so why are you throwing it in there now? I don't really care about the dice. Apparently it played a big role, but I don't really care. Nonetheless, it had action, comedy, romance, a plot twist, cameo of a character that we haven't seen for a while. So I thought it was fun. There was a lot of stuff that you didn't expect would happen, and you finally learned how he made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, or right around 12 parsecs. It's an interesting way how they talk about it, but it was a fun movie, and I think as a standalone film, it stood out, and I'm excited to see how they do future standalone films, because especially when they talk about the Obi-Wan standalone film that they're working on, so I'm excited to see that. But apparently that's on hold because since Solo didn't do as well in the theaters, they're a little hesitant to create a new one. But you gotta look at what's going on in the realm of Star Wars itself. And people are gonna see a Star Wars movie. It still made money, but you want to make a lot more money. Fans want to see more Star Wars. I'm telling you that right now. It's not gonna be on hold for much longer. We're gonna see a Obi-Wan movie, probably see a Boba Fett movie. And they're not going to stop making Star Wars movies. And our last topic of the day is the Logan Paul and KSI fight. Now, this has been a very highly anticipated thing here on the YouTube community, and I am very excited to see this. I've been following this ever since KSI outed and called out Logan Paul in his previous fight against Joe Weller, and I'm very excited and eager to see who wins this fight and how long that fight will last. You can purchase the fight now. I will link to it down below. And it's $10, not that much. It is, I believe streaming starts at 12 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. So it's on tomorrow. Yeah, Saturday. Tomorrow is Saturday. So get your stream now, because it is going to probably be the biggest live stream event to ever happen on YouTube, and I am excited about it, and you should watch it. And when you talk about who I think will win, I personally think Logan Paul has the advantage. And when you look at he's he has a athletic background. He wrestled, I believe he had some MMA in high school too, did some MMA. But then you look at, he's taller, he has a longer reach. At the weigh-in today, he cut down a lot of pounds, because I believe he was like 205, 210, so he cut down like 20 pounds from when he started training. So that's very impressive, and I think he has a lot of background in fighting with wrestling, and he placed 5th in high school at the state level, and he played football, so I wouldn't look past Logan Paul. Sure, KSI has a boxing match under his belt, but when you look at who I think will win, I believe Logan Paul will come out the winner. And they all say, I want a first-round knockout. That's not going to happen. I believe it's going to go 3 or 4 rounds, because each round is going to be 3 minutes, and it's going to be 6 rounds. So I believe it's going to make to 3 rounds. And then Logan Paul will win with the knockout. And it's not going to be a first round knockout. But thank you for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see more videos of the Colton Steiner Show, let me know. And if you want to see me talk about a certain topic or a certain issue or a certain movie, just let me know and I'll be glad to have it in the Colton Steiner Show. So thanks you for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.